This feels like a podcast. Hello and welcome to the Make with Blake podcast. I'm your host, Blake, and in today's episode, we're going to talk about... I don't really know. I mean, I do know, but I don't know, I haven't sat down and, typed up, an outline, so this could go really good or really bad. I hope this is close enough. So, hello. So I wanted to give you a little warning. I'm editing this video down, and this is definitely a video just where I'm chatting the whole time. I'm not even going to do any crazy editing or music or anything, because it's literally the point of these few videos that I'm just sitting down and talking is to get my thoughts out. So you can think about them as a little bit of a podcast series, literally just me talking and trying to share a ton of thoughts. So yeah, grab a little beverage and a snack, and yeah. Also, that's not trash. It's felt scraps that I'm going to reuse. I don't just have a bag of trash in the chair. So, speaking of, I matched my chair. We kind of have the same silhouette. Okay, back to the video. Hi, my name is Blake, and I'm an artist living in upstate South Carolina with my wife, Claiborne, and our two dogs, Luna and Nova. I wanted to sit down and do sort of like a autobiographical sort of series of videos talking about what's got me to the point that I am today. Should I turn this down just a little? Is that better or worse? You can consider this basically video one of question mark. I don't really know how many videos I'm going to put in this series. I feel like I've been through so much in my art career that I need to pay it forward. I need to talk about it, and my hope is that in telling people about what I've been through and the things that I've experienced and learned, it might help other artists, especially younger artists, other, younger entrepreneurial makers who want to get out there and build something for themselves. I've learned so much, and I've dabbled in so many different things that I feel like I have a really good perspective on things. For the longest time, really it started back in the pandemic, I wanted to reestablish the foundation of my studio, because I've always considered myself more as an artist designer rather than just a maker. I do like making things with my hands, and I love the satisfaction of having something physical that I had designed. And up to this point, I've always approached that in a way that oh, I have to physically make that item to get that feeling from it, One of the things that I've definitely learned over the last however many years, I just kind of need to diversify my portfolio, I guess. I'm trying to get to a point to where I can delegate more stuff so I can bring more people in to help me make some of those things that have to be handmade, but also I'm trying to be more in that designer headspace where I'm designing the things and then having them made or trying to have them produced, that kind of thing. Because I like to dabble so much, I have started a lot of different projects over the years, and that's always what I consider things as oh, this is a new project for me to start. And I realized that I need to bring everything underneath one umbrella, and I've spent a lot of time thinking about that, because I also wanted it to give me the flexibility and the freedom to bring in a lot of the different things that I do together, almost thematically. I wanted to bring everything together under one brand, and I needed it to make sense, but I also needed it to give me some space to grow from that too in the future, because I know myself, I know that once I feel like I've accomplished something, or once I feel okay, I've nailed that down, I'm ready to move on to the next thing. So I wanted to basically start a structure that would allow for that to happen over time. So to cut to the chase, I am very happy to present Made in St. Christopher, which is essentially, the way that I like to think about it is St. Christopher is this sort of place that I go to or that I can like project ideas onto that doesn't really exist in reality, but I can slowly start to build it and explore designs through that perspective. And I wanted to name my studio Made in St. Christopher to really show that anything that I make is made in that sort of creative state of mind. This probably seems pretty abstract to some people, probably most people, but it has been something that just continues to make more and more sense as time has gone on for me. And I will be doing follow-up videos in this series to really like do deep dives into what brought me to these decisions, to these creative decisions, and also to explore like branding stuff as well. And but with reestablishing the studio as Made in St. Christopher, this kind of alters the umbrella that all of my other projects fall under. I have been working for years now on this product line called Leaf Boutique, and it always kind of, in the back of my mind, I always knew I would want to evolve it into some. My dogs are in their crate shaking. In the back of my mind, I always knew I would want to evolve it into something else. And so, with establishing Made in St. Christopher, Leaf Boutique has really grown into something bigger, and that is St. Christopher Gardens. I've always been really inspired by botanical gardens, and that's kind of what I want to expand my felt and fiber botanical art into. So far, I've really focused on the kind of flowers that you would find in a typical cut garden, but I want to expand that kind of felt and fiber world out further. I've been playing around with rug tufting, so I'm making moss rugs. And then too, over the last couple years, I'd started incorporating other things like felt stones. And I really just want to build out this world, you know, like kind of like living in like a botanical Fraggle Rock is what I imagine. I remember when Trolls came out a few years ago, I was so inspired because everything was so textural and it was like just this fiber art world that the Trolls lived in. And I was like, oh my gosh, that reminds me of the flowers. So that was definitely a little bit of an inspiration too, to kind of expand out this world. I have been planning collections, so seasonal collections. I've got a couple that I want to release at the end of this year, and then I've got enough collections to last me through all of next year. So with all of the rebranding stuff and then just all like getting everything lined up in my head too, behind the scenes, while I've not been very active on social media and stuff, I have been building up my inventory for my wholesale partners because I really want to get that sort of system in and of itself working so that way it's basically ready to ship. Up to this point, it's been more of a made to order thing, or either like a combination of the two. So some flowers I'll have made and then some I'll have to like make when those orders come in. But I really want to make it so that whenever I get a wholesale order from any of our partners, that order will be ready to go out in just a couple days. I'm still not to that point yet because I started working on our largest flowers because I offer those in so many different colors, and I wanted to build up that inventory first. So right now, I've got about 80 something baskets full of flowers, and I store my flowers in these bushel baskets that I store on the shelves that I built. I have 3 more shelves that are already cut that are sitting on the front porch waiting to be put together too. So that'll be another 45 baskets. So I'm really, really trying hard to get all of that inventory together for them so that way I can still be able to respond to them, and that kind of gives me a little bit of padding to do some of this other stuff that I want to do. I have so many plans. I've got this one really big project that's been sitting on the back burner that I would love to start soon that I don't even want to mention. I don't want to say the details yet, but it's very exciting, and I'm hoping to get that started as the weather starts to cool down because I'm going to have to be outside for most of it. But besides the surprise project, I do have all of my collections like I've been talking about. And they are seasonal, so they are tied to holidays or either just seasons in general. And I've been accepted into my 2 big fall shows, and that's the Indie Craft Parade in Greenville, South Carolina, and the Mackenzie Childs Artisan Crafts Festival in Aurora, New York. Last year was the first year that I did the Mackenzie Childs Arts and Craft Festival, and it was honestly so amazing. I've never been to New York, first of all, but then I've really never been that far away from South Carolina, so it was a huge leap, and it really paid off, and I'm hoping to make that a yearly trip. That would be really awesome. And then the Indie Craft Parade is an event that I've been doing now for probably 7 years, I would say. It has been a highlight of my year for so long, and I really structured the second half of the year around that event. As we get closer to those events, I definitely want to, this year, I want to share more of the behind the scenes footage of what it takes to prepare for those. Like I said, we've already been working so far this year, and I'm super proud of how far we've come because as far as the flowers go, last year my mom came on board and started helping me as a part-time assistant. They live about 2.5 hours away, and they live with my grandmother, who we call Nanny, and they help take care of her. She works part-time in her like day job, and then she's at home with my nanny the rest of the time. And so when she's at home, she's also working on flowers. And I remember last year, right after Mother's Day, I was like, I really need some help. And she came on board, and the amount of flowers that we had stocked and made at the end of July, maybe even mid-August, we've got a little bit more than that right now. So we are very much ahead of where we were last year, but we do want to keep up that pace. That way we're able to do all of the things that I've been talking about here. And that, honestly, underneath this umbrella of Made in St. Christopher, that's St. Christopher Gardens now. So that's just kind of one pillar in this whole thing. The other one is something that I started a long time ago, and that's Miniature Bazaar. That is 1/12 scale miniatures for dollhouse collectors and miniature enthusiasts. I loved making these, and my hope is that as I am able to kind of compartmentalize my time a little bit better, that I will be able to do more miniature projects, and then hopefully even release some miniature collections too in the future. And that is definitely a pillar that I want to have included into this whole thing, but that's something that it's still going to be on the back burner for just a little bit. The other main thing that I want to talk about too is Make with Blake. So that is what started off as kind of just like a project-based YouTube channel, and that's definitely what I want to do with it moving forward. But in a kind of grander scheme, that's where I really want to share a lot of the project-based things that go into everything that I do. I work from home as, a home-based artist and small business. So a lot of those kind of lines get blurred as far as like home projects and then regular like business and art projects too. So really Make with Blake is kind of my just content all together. And so with those things, that's kind of what I'm like locking into place for now. It still gives me room to build and grow because it is kind of the way that I've redone things is a little bit conceptual. I've done that really because of what I'm inspired by. I've always been so inspired by world building in movies and TVs and books. I've always loved this idea of like escaping the world through some sort of like creative escape. Like thinking about The Wizard of Oz or The Chronicles of Narnia or what else? Alice in Wonderland. I really loved stop motion animation growing up, and I still do. And so I think about all of my favorite stop motion animations. The Nightmare Before Christmas, falling through the portal, same as Coraline going through the little door, even like Corpse Bride, how they would go to like the other side. I always have loved this idea of these like other worlds because it's always a metaphor for things that we're dealing with in real life. And so I also think that kind of that becomes almost a form of like art therapy too, to process through real world things through these like imaginative places and designs and concepts. So yeah, I've really needed a restart. And stuff like this, there's never really such a thing as like a fresh start, because obviously in moving forward, I'm bringing a lot of elements of things that I've worked on over the years, but ultimately I'm reworking what I've done and experienced over the years to bring it all together into something that makes a lot more sense. One thing that I've always really loved is any kind of system that's like modular, where you can take the pieces and you can rearrange them and it still makes sense together. And there's still this kind of element of like world building, like I mentioned earlier. I think that comes from me liking having a system in place and having things that look like they go together. But I don't really love being like stuck in something, you know? Like, I like for things to be able to evolve and change over time. And so that's kind of how I see this, you know, rebuilding the studio in a more of a modular way. All that to say is I have a lot of ideas, and I've been sitting on a lot of ideas and a lot of things for a while now. It's just time. It's time for me to rework everything and come back swinging. If you want to continue following along with this series, definitely like and subscribe. You can subscribe to my YouTube channel as well as follow me on all my social media. Do all the YouTube things here, like, subscribe. Leave me a comment if you'd like to give me some words of encouragement. And you can follow me on social media at Made in St. Christopher is the new studio. And then the different product lines that I have would be St. Christopher Gardens and the Miniature Bazaar. And then I really use Make with Blake as like my more personal feeds, as well as where I share project stuff. So that's Make with Blake on YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye! What was this? Bye! I was gonna say something, but I forgot. What was it? I hope I didn't forget anything. I don't think so.